Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder I thought we would have a look at some of the sales which are actually going on over at the PlayStation Store for this time of year. Now these offers are until the 10th of July, so you've got a few days if you haven't been on PlayStation. And I would actually cover the Xbox Ones in this video, but they don't exist. There seems to be absolutely no offers which are going on right now when it comes to the War Thunder stuff. The only thing is the beginner's bundle, and obviously you have the normal add-ons, but there don't seem to be any discounts. If there's anything later on, which, you know, there's discounts on for the Xbox version, I'll make sure to cover them. But for right now, the only place that has anything going on is, of course, the PlayStation. So we're going to go over them in this video, my personal opinions on them and all of that good stuff. And also, we're going to go over the spreadsheet stuff. So, what's on offer for the PlayStation? You got the MiG-15 Bish, the Reaper, the Sabre, the Vente 105-25, the BO-105, the German helicopter, the Hind, the Soviet helicopter, the Leopard, of course, the A1A1L44, the Naval Pack, the Z-20 Carl Gulsta, and also, to top it off, you've got the Patton 2 or the KPZ M47G Premium for the Germans. Now, if there are any other offers that are around, you can see all of the add-ons here on the US store that we're having a look at. So it's kind of interesting how they haven't done a Huey pack, which is 50% off. Instead, what they've done is just the other two helicopters. So yeah, it's just a little bit odd that certain things are on offer and others aren't. Like, as I said, why is the Huey Hog not on offer? Or why is, like, the Hyder not on offer? Or the Project 7U like it is for PC users? So it just seems a little bit weird when it comes to it. But we're going to go through each of these. I have created a spreadsheet, so if you want to have a look for yourself at the prices, you can. Basically, every pack, apart from a select few, or one I should say, come with 2,000 GE and 15 days worth of premium time. The only one which seems to be different is the 105-25, the Vente, which comes with 1,000 GE and 7 days worth of premium. So that means that it's quite easy to work out the cost per vehicle. So therefore, for the Reaper, in its pack of $24.99, the vehicle itself is worth $7.39. The MiG-15 Bish, $7.39 again. Sabre, exactly the same thing. The 105-25, though, the vehicle itself is worth $3.88. Remember that these are all USD, by the way. We're using the US store here. The BO-105 comes in at $2.39, so does the Hind as well, and then the Leopard comes in at $12.39, Carl Gulsta at $7.39, and the Patton 2 exactly the same. So you can see there's a lot of uniform prices a lot across here. The best value for money options are, of course, the helicopters, just like it was for the PC packs. So if you are interested in getting into helicopters, this would be the time. Just like the Christmas sales that were on for the helicopters, the prices are insanely good for stuff, you know, such as the helicopters here. The other value for money, of course, is the 105-25, but I still wouldn't say it's a good vehicle to go for. But as I said, we're going to go through each of these packs. So we're going to start off with the Reaper pack, coming in at $24.99. If you don't know what the Reaper is, I actually missed it out of the last video and had to add it in a little bit later on. The Reaper is an 8.0 premium. It's the lowest bat rating premium of the rank 5/rank 6 aircraft. If you want to have a look at the American stuff, you can see that you have, you know, the F-35. For the Germans, you have the Seahawk Mark 100 at 7.7, which is going up to 8.0, remember? So, you know, it isn't going to be the lowest anymore. And then a 9.0 for the MiG-15 Bish. But all of the aircraft that were added a while back alongside the Reaper, they were all added in at 9.0 or 9.3. Now, all the 9.3s having air-to-air missiles. And the Reaper was kind of sat by itself at 8.0. And the reason for this is because the Meteor F Mark 8, which this is based off of, isn't as powerful as something like a Sabre. It doesn't have the same max speed, as you can see here. It doesn't really have the same acceleration. It does have very good turning on it, but it doesn't have the same roll rate, and therefore there's a lot going for other aircraft which aren't going for this aircraft. The guns, in my opinion, are quite good, but they're not as good as stuff like 50 cals when we talk about against other jets. And the only other thing that this has, which it was mainly supposed to be designed for, is the external bomb racks. So you can carry quite a lot of external ordnance, which includes 2 sets of 4,000 pounders. One actually is more explosive mass in the form of the Mark 1 bombs, where these are the GP Mark 1 bombs. Hopefully at some point, instead of explosive mass just being taken into account, other stuff will be taken into account too, so therefore there'll be a reason to take these over these. It also carries a lot of RP3s, and also some other bomb configurations alongside it, you know, like 16 RP3s and 2 1000s. But in Air Realistic, at this level of 8.0, you're either looking for a heavy bomber which can do a ton of damage to bases. So B-29, which is a little bit lower in BR, the Tu-4 is the classic example, and then other bombers of that caliber, the Vautour as well. Whereas the Mark 8 Reaper doesn't really have the killing power in Air Realistic to be classed as, you know, a decent bomber or an attacker. So therefore you are hoping that its fighting characteristics are good enough. And the issue is with the Meteor, as you go higher and higher BR, is the fact that it doesn't match up well against other jets. Like, it does have a specific playstyle, which is get other jets to turn with you, defensively fly, and then be able to hit them when they're trying to go away from you. But this is all predicated on the enemy making a mistake while fighting you, which you can force in something like a Meteor. Like, it's survivable in that sense. Like, it's hard to die in it. But actually being on the front foot and attacking people, it's incredibly hard to do in a machine like this. And we are long past the days where stuff like the Sea Meteor was known as the Sea Jesus, and so same with stuff like the Meteor F Mark 8s, which were great. We now have a new expansion into the game, and with the BRs, a lot of machines which were 9.0 are getting changed to 8.7. And that means that 8.7 is going to become quite a prominent BR in jets, and you don't want to be up-tiered but in this thing into that 8.7 bracket, which is going to happen over and over again. So for me, even though the price of it is a pretty decent price, I think something like a Wyvern is so much better for you, just from a long-term point of view. It has 480% and 480% and 690% on its rewards, so it's not as good as the Reaper. But the main thing is you're not going to lose your mind while using the Wyvern, because you're going to turn your brain off and just ground strike a little bit. With this, you're going to have to use it as a fighter because its secondary bomb loads are not good enough. And also, with the introduction of radar-guided AA into the game at top tiers and ground realistic, machines like this get eaten up. They're just not fast enough. So therefore, it's not a good aircraft to pick, in my opinion. It's one of the weakest aircraft when it comes to the vehicles, you know, the rank 5 premiums for each nation. The next one is the MiG-15 Bish. As we said, 2,000 G and 15 days of premium. Same price as the Reaper, and obviously all of these really come down to what you actually want to research. So if you want to research a specific nation, sure, go for, you know, some of the planes for it. But just understand I'm giving my general opinions on them. So the MiG-15 Bish is one of those which is going down to 8.7, so that means it's getting out of that 10.0 bracket, which is good for it, but it is still a worse version in fighting sense to the ones in the tech tree. You know, the MiG-15 Bish is going down to 8.7 as well, so you're pretty much relying on its secondary armaments, which is what this thing is designed for, to kind of, you know, give you an edge over some enemies. And because of the way that they're angled, it can be hard to use, you know, with the stuff angled down, such as the rockets. But once you get used to it, I don't think it's too much of an issue. It can also be quite a bonus in ground realistic, because you don't technically have to get close to the ground to be able to use the secondary armaments, because you can just, you know, shoot them from up high. That doesn't mean it's easy to do, though. It's just, it's one of those things making it slightly better than the Reaper app. The other thing is you have access to the 37 and the 223s. I personally think that these styles of cannons, as long as they connect, are very good when it comes to jets. I know a lot of people don't like them, and I can understand why, because of the sparking issue that plagues still a lot of aircraft, and also the just lack of damage that they do. But if they connect, they connect. And in jet combat, if you're able to get the first shot off, normally, you're going to win the engagement, just like a lot of engagements in Air Realistic, which is why it's always very important to be on the front foot. So since this thing is going down to 8.7, and since it's got pretty good speed behind us, the only thing you're going to have to really worry about is Sabres and G91s, and if you match up against them, well, you better know how to energy fight, and even then you better know how to boom and zoom fight, because there is no way they are going to let you get easy shots off on them. So it's one of the weaker premiums, once again, at this high BR, but it's more competitive than the Meteor is, which is why it's 9.0 right now instead of 8.0. The next one is the Sabre, of course, which is the Sky Blazers Sabre. It's a 9.0 premium for the Americans, and the only issue with this is that it doesn't have access to air-to-air missiles. Everything else on it is great. It's got the HVARs, it's got the bombs. This version, I believe, was actually designed to carry nuclear weapons, if I'm correct, which is really well, kind of insane. But I highly doubt that'll ever come to the game in any meaningful way. The Sabres are really good at rolling. They're really good with their acceleration. They've got a great rate of climb. They're very fun to fly, and also they have pretty good guns. The high velocity on the M3s plus the amount of ammunition you have means that if you make some mistakes shooting at some people, you'll have ammunition to spare. So it's a very not noob friendly jet, but it's one which will get you out of a lot of situations by defensively flying, and also gives you that offensive option because of your speed and acceleration, and also energy retention, to be honest, moving around. You also have access to air brakes, which is always nice, plus combat flaps and landing flaps, so everything on it, for me, it's kind of like a middle-of-the-road jet. Actually, it might be slightly more above average. Like the other ones which are above it are stuff like the F-40, the Canadair Sabre, but the Canadair Sabre is going up in BR, so this might be the new king of 9.0. The only issue is when you face stuff at 10.0 or 9.3, with the air-to-airs, and also just the speed disadvantage that you'll have. It means that you'll have to get used to defensively flying a hell of a lot in it. But if we're talking about just out of the premiums that you can get from each of the nations, it's definitely one of the strongest. The only one that's better than it is the F-86 F-40, and then an argument can be made for the R4. But I think I would take the, well, it's actually a flip the coin scenario between the R4 and the Sabre, the American Sabre, but I would definitely take the F-40 over the F-35. So yeah, it's a solid purchase if you want to grind out the American tree, and there's a lot of planes in the American tree that are really fun to use. You have a lot of options, whether you like bombers, attackers, fighters, whatever you really want, and there's a lot of different jets as well. You'll find that a lot of them are not very competitive, they're not, they're not great when it comes to the meta, but it still means that you have a lot of options, right? It still means you can try a lot of different things, and for me, that's what War Thunder's all about. The next one's the Semavente 105-25, so as I said, this is the most efficient one if it comes to what your dollar gets you. It gets you a rank 3 tank destroyer, which is going down to 3.0, remember? So even though it's at 3.3 right now, it's going down to 3.0, so it'll be lower than the rank 2 premium. What you're basically paying for is a gun platform which doesn't have a lot of speed, doesn't have a lot of armor, has quite a long reload, has good gun depression, and the other thing is doesn't always penetrate. So when the 105 pens with the APC does a lot of damage. You know what you find a lot of at 3.3 though, and around this BR? You find a lot of Soviet tanks, and what you find is a lot of like KV-1s, and also if you get up-tiered, stuff like T-34s, and sometimes the heat will just not it'll just decide not to work against stuff like that. It'll also decide not to work against Shermans and things like this. So for me, the 105 is definitely not reliable enough to use in any capacity which would make it kind of useful. I think there's a reason why they're taking it off the store when they're leaving up everything else, because they're a lot more useful than this thing. Maybe they're going to replace it with something else. Who knows? I'm not sure about the situation. The other thing as well that isn't really talked about a lot, but it's something that I brought up in my Italian videos, because of the camouflage scheme on machines like this, really easy to see them from miles away. Like the bright yellow, the red, and the green really make it stand out, and also the flag on the front. So trying to be sneaky in this is pretty much impossible. Like, you'll be seen from a mile away, so therefore you have to use your gun depression to your advantage to do something, and even then, it's hard to do. It's also got a crew of 3, so all you have to do is shoot it here and it dies, and there's only 75mm of armor. So overall, survivability is horrific, speed and engine reload is horrific. The only thing that is partially good on it is the gun, and even then lacking in penetration. So for me, it's just a no-go, unless you really want to play, the Italians. But who wants? I mean, the Italians are fun, right? Like, there's a lot of really fun vehicles with the Italians, like the light tanks, the Centauro, the OF40. There's a lot of stuff here which is really great. The R3 is a lot of fun, but just get like the Leoncello if you can, or if you can't get the Leoncello, just wait until they add another premium to this bracket, because they're going to. There isn't any normal standard premiums here, and remember, for the Italians, they did start adding in GE premiums, so the HS129, Spitfire Mark 5B, and the IAR are all GE premiums, so I'm sure they'll do the same for the Army sector as well for Italy, so just kind of wait for that and you'll be alright. The BL-105 CB2, this is the German premium helicopter. Normally the premium helicopters that are on offer are incredibly good at what they do. They're either 9.7s or 10.0s. They have access to exactly what you'd want out of a helicopter, which at the moment is just tows. The only thing is it doesn't have a way to defend itself, and this is just kind of a thing that is on offer for a lot of these German helicopters. They just defending themselves is not the easiest thing to do. If you want to defend yourself with a machine gun, then you have to lose 4 tow missiles, which is not something that you really want to do, since tows are so effective in this game. And therefore, at least you have the abilities to run guns, but the majority of the time you're going to want to run the ATGMs instead. So for me, it really comes down to, do you want to grind helicopters? Do you want to play the helicopter game mode? Because in Ground Realistic right now, at 9.7, you're facing stuff like the ADAT, you're facing stuff like the Tunguska, you're facing stuff like the Stormer, and you are going to die. Helicopters have a rough end of the stick right now in Ground Realistic, especially the higher tier ones, such as this 9.7 vehicle. So if you want to play the helicopter game mode and you want to research and have fun with a different part of the game, it's a great pickup, right? And also it's one of the best value for money stuff if we just look at the pack compared to everything else. So yeah, if you like that, then get it. It's the only better offer you might get is at Christmas, which it was better offer last year when it came to the helicopters. Then you got the Mi-24D, which is on offer as well, the Czechoslovakian Soviet one, which we have, or I should say it's the one that Czechoslovakia used, but it's obviously in the Soviet tree. So this is just the Mi-24D. It has access to a bunch of different secondary weapons, and also is armed with the 12.7 Yak-B, so it can defend itself while also taking the Phalangas and also the 9M 17Ps, which are the Phalanga PVs. So it's good at what it does, and it can carry bombs as well if you really want it to. But it's one of the better premium helicopters that you can get. I always thought it was better than the Huey, just because it was more designed as an attack helicopter, and it's better than the Romanian one from the French and the German one. The fact that the Mi-24D can defend itself while also having some really nice bomb loads, well, not bomb loads, but secondary loads, is great for it. So yeah, it's once again a really nice pickup. The only issue with it is the fact that the question is, do you want to run that, or to get the Mi-35M, or do you want to run the Huey to get the American one? But unfortunately, as I said, the Huey isn't on offer for some reason. I don't really know why from the PlayStation Store, but it just isn't. The next one is easily the best offer that is here. The Leopard A1A1L44 gives you 2,000 GE and 15 days of premium. The Leopard pack is $12.39 for the vehicle itself, so once you take away everything else which is on it. And the Leopard A1A1L44 is, in my opinion, the strongest vehicle at its BR when it comes to the premiums. So that's looking at the OF40, the Sho't the T55AM, the Japanese Type 74. All of these vehicles are good in their own right, and they're all meta vehicles, but the Leopard A1A1L44 is just slightly better than them. It does all-round performance better, so it has the good gun depression, 9 degrees, has the 8.7 reload rate, which is stock, so that will go down to like 6 seconds or around there and be very competitive. It also has enough armor to screw with shots, especially on the turret. A lot of Leopard drivers, like I've been driving a lot of the Leopard A1A1 recently, and I forgot how much of the time it survives its first hit. Even if it shouldn't, or even if, you know, the armor doesn't make sense, it still does survive a hit, and that's all you really need in a vehicle like this. The loader still doesn't fit in the turret, that's completely fine, but the 120mm Rheinmetall at 8.7 is a monstrosity. The DM13 round nearly penning 400 or 393, 340, 227 respectfully. It also has a laser rangefinder on it and smoke grenades. It has everything that you'd want out of a vehicle alongside its artillery support. So yeah, this is the strongest 8.7 premium in the game. I don't think there is one stronger than it. You could maybe say the XM1 is stronger than it, but it's not an 8.7, it's a 9.0. So it gets that nice added bonus that it doesn't get put into 10.0 matches, and because 8.7 is kind of like a sinkhole right now, because of the fact you don't get into 10.0 matches, this thing is top dog, alongside the Leopard A1A1. As I said yesterday, if you watched the video, there is a reason my Leopard A1A1, I have a 2-to-1 KD in it, and this is coming from someone who isn't the best tanker. Like, I see myself much more as a pilot than I do a tanker, so this is coming from someone who is using a vehicle from stock to pretty much half upgraded now after doing these battles. So 74% win rate, 2-to-1 KD, you know, it's insane, and that's in the A1A1. Now imagine if you got a fully flushed out one in the A1A1L44, which was cheaper and also gave you more research and more SL just for playing it. Like, it's a no-brainer in my opinion to pick this up, since you already have a good 8.7 lineup around it. You know, the Beglett, the Tam, you know, the Radeon Jagdpanzer 2. You can throw it in even a 9.0 if you want. Remember, this used to be a 9.0 vehicle. It's just, if you don't have this now, and, you know, you're looking to pick up an 8.7 premium, and, you know, Germany has a really nice tree as well in tech tree terms. It's got a little bit of everything. The only thing it's kind of missing in the mid tiers is light tanks, and hopefully they come soon. But at top tier, you know, you've got really good AA, you've got really good MBTs, you've got really fun light vehicles, you've got great medium tanks. The only thing, it doesn't really have any heavies, but then again, heavies didn't really exist from the 60s onwards for the majority of nations, or at least they merged or morphed into the MBT idea. So yeah, it has a bit of everything, and the Leopard A1A1 can also, give you that everything. It has one of the highest rewards for RP and also SL, and as I said, very low repair cost. And since it's rank 6, you are able to research everything at rank 7 and below incredibly efficiently in it. So it's a really good pickup. Then we've got the Gulsta. Now the Gulsta is the destroyer for the fleet. Kind of odd that we don't have the Project 7U, but here's the Gulsta. It's a 4-3 machine. It's better than its tech tree equivalent, so if you're interested in the German fleet, this is an easy pickup. One of the things that was decided at Gaijin, or at some point at Gaijin, is that the premiums that would be on offer would be just better versions of ones which are in the tech tree. So you have something like a Z20 Gulsta of 4.3, and then you look at it compared to the 1936, you'll see that everything is kind of similar on it, apart from the fact that the Gulsta has much more AA to it than the Type 1936, right? So it has the same main guns, it has similar secondary guns in the forms of 37s, but even then the Gulsta has more 37s, and then the Gulsta also has more 20s. So overall, it just packs more of a punch, and it has the same torpedoes. So if you want to grind through the fleets, the destroyers, especially discounted, are easily the best way of doing it. You're able to research all 4 ranks of the fleet incredibly efficiently if you want to get to those top tiers, and also you can make money while doing it in these machines. It's just kind of sad that they decided to add in, destroyer premiums, which were just better than their tech tree equivalents, but it is how it is. I understand how the game's played. I'm just happy that it hasn't spread too much to other parts of the game, apart from some of the top tier vehicles that we have in ground forces. The Pattern 2, so the KPZ M47, if you don't know where the M47 originated from, well, it originated from the American tech tree right here. And the reason why I call it the Pattern 2 is because, well, that's kind of its informal name in a way. So you find it here. It's a 7-3 for rank 5, so it's efficient at researching all of rank 6 and below. It will always hold a special place in my heart, just because if you've ever seen the Battle of the Bulge movie with Colonel Hessler and his merry band, it's not very historically accurate. But for me, the Battle of the Bulge, they use Tiger II tanks, but these Tiger II tanks are actually Pattern 2s. So you see this in all of its German glory with all of its German markings, and it's wonderful. If you haven't seen the film, I would definitely say watch it, just for the spectacle of it and just because of the tank combat in it, but understand it ain't historical at all. When it comes to it, there are Chaffies in it which are, supposed to be Shermans and all of that good stuff. But anyway, the Pattern 2 at 7-3, rank 5, it's definitely outshone by a lot of other vehicles. The Pattern 2 stock is a really rough vehicle to use, but since this is a premium, you get it fully dotted up, so therefore you get access to this Heat FS round. So penning stuff isn't really going to be an issue. And also the muzzle velocity on it isn't really going to be an issue. You're going to be playing a lot in that 7-7 bracket, which is okay. The reload rate is good enough on it. The issue is no gun stabilization, and at 7-3 it's not completely needed, but there are a lot of machines, especially British machines that you'll come up against a lot, which have the gun stabilization, so it'll be very hard to get the first shot off, plus the gun depression. So the gun depression has always been up for debate in this machine, and I think it should be, because I've read sources which have said that the Pattern 2's gun depression is more around like 8 or 10 degrees, whereas in-game it's at 5 degrees right now. Now, if you look at like every other American vehicle, they normally have 8 or 10 degrees or around their gun depression. So it would be very odd to move away from that and just have a vehicle which has -5 gun depression instead. And you can see in this turret, there is plenty of room for more gun depression if required. So it's just, maybe it'll get changed, maybe it won't get changed. If you look at stuff like Honeycut stuff, it does talk about the gun depression being a little bit higher than it is, but right now it's at -5, so therefore its gun depression is not very good. The armor is pointless at 7.3, it just isn't very good enough. Maybe if you run into a few stock vehicles and they ping off, you know, your turret or your upper glacis, but you always must look at your enemy as if they're fully upgraded. The engine does make this thing motor around though, does have a really nice sound behind it, and also the 50 cal on top is a nice addition, plus a coaxial 50 instead of a smaller gun. If your turret gets popped, you don't die instantly because it has a 5-man crew, so that's always nice. But for me, it's definitely a weak premium nowadays, just because of the addition of the Leopard A1A1. Think about it this way, right? So you can either get something which is $5 more, but it's 1.3 BR, 1.4 BR higher. It has better research, better rewards, it will have a better win rate, at least for now. It has a much better gun, stabilization, much easier to use, better zoom, laser rangefinder, or you can get a American tank, which nobody plays as an American because there are much better options around it. And also you can't as efficiently research other stuff. So the Leopard L44 is just much easier to use, and therefore it's if you're a noob, or you know, if you're not really used to top tier games, it's a lot easier to use than this thing. And that's just because of the stabilization, the speed, and also even the armor sometimes with it. So overall, I would just take out the extra $5 and put it towards the A1A1 instead of, you know, the Pan 2. Basically, instead of just taking like 2 McDonald's burgers, just drop them off, you know, maybe have some soup or ramen for dinner, and pick yourself up this instead of this. So yeah, those are all the deals, and as I said, they run until the 10th of this month. It's kind of sad there's no Xbox stuff. Maybe there will be at some point. Anyway, I hope you I hope you all enjoy this video, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Reinman, Leonard Rudnick, Martinez, Matati, Moxie, Nick Graham, Alobrilo, Super Cacti, Elove Goats, and Seductive Trashcan for supporting the channel.